Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has arrived in the Ukrainian capital Kiev. He will meet Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky. This comes right after Kishida's visit to India, where he held high-level talks with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Kishida's Ukraine trip comes at the backdrop of the Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Russia. It's the second day of Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Moscow. He met Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin. Xi will hold formal talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin today. The two leaders met yesterday as well. Xi called Putin his dear friend. The United States has voiced concern over Xi Jinping's visit to Moscow. The White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby urged Xi to use his trip to tell Putin to respect Ukraine's sovereignty and end the war. He told reporters that the US is concerned that Xi will reiterate calls for a ceasefire. This would leave Russian forces inside Ukraine's sovereign territory. He also called upon Xi to speak with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky about the impact of the war on Ukraine. Ukraine's defense secretary has said that a Russian Caliber cruise missile was destroyed in an explosion in Crimea. It was being transported by train. Ukraine has not claimed responsibility for the incident. However, authorities said that it helps to demilitarize Russia and prepare the Crimean Peninsula for de-occupation. Russia has laid out conditions for further extension of the Black Sea grain deal. The deal was extended last week for 60 days, which is half of the intended period. Putin has said that the grain deal will now be extended on Russia's terms. He pointed out that the grain deal has unfairly prioritized well-fed European markets. Putin added that if the grain deal is not renewed, Moscow would supply free grain to African countries. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that he would soften his stance on the controversial judicial overhaul plan. This after a telephonic conversation with US President Joe Biden. Netanyahu said that he would postpone most of the proposed changes. However, the changes have failed to satisfy people and they continue to protest against the reforms. They say that the reforms would undermine the Supreme Court as an independent institution. The National Security Police in Hong Kong has arrested Albert Ho. He's one of the most prominent pro-democracy figures and a former lawmaker. Albert Ho has been charged over incitement to subversion. He faces up to a decade in jail. This is the latest high-profile arrest in Hong Kong under the national security law. The Lahore High Court has granted protective bail to former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan. He got protective bail in 2 cases of terrorism registered against him in Islamabad. Ahead of this, Khan wrote a letter to Pakistan's Chief Justice. He sought permission to attend court proceedings virtually. This comes amid claims that there were attempts to assassinate him. Meanwhile, police arrested dozens of PTI supporters involved in recent clashes with the security forces. The International Monetary Fund has approved Sri Lanka's request for a $2.9 billion bailout. The country's president has said the program will enable it to access up to $7 billion in overall funding. The IMF's board has signed off on the loan. This will kick off a 4-year program designed to shore up the country's economy. Chaos continued on the streets of the French capital, Paris. This came hours after French President Emmanuel Macron's government narrowly survived a no-confidence vote. Protesters set piles of garbage on fire. They called for Macron's resignation. Several people were detained. Unrest continues over the French government's pension reforms. The government wants to increase the retirement age from 62 to 64 years. Protests against the rising cost of living continue in the East African country of Kenya. Police tear-gassed opposition leader Raila Odinga's convoy. Police also used a water cannon to prevent Odinga from reaching President William Ruto's State House residence. His convoy dodged police roadblocks. Odinga emerged from a sunroof to address a crowd of supporters. He has called for nationwide protests. More than 500 protesters have been arrested in South Africa so far. This follows calls for President Cyril Ramaphosa's resignation. Protesters say they are not happy with the president's performance. South Africa faces high unemployment and an electricity crisis. Teachers are protesting in the South American nation of Bolivia. Protests have broken out against the government's plan for schools. Protesters called for more resources for the country's education sector. teachers tried to occupy the headquarters of the Ministry of Education. This led to clashes between protesters and police. New York City is bracing for a possible indictment of former US President Donald Trump. This is in the case of an alleged hush money payment to a porn star during the 2016 presidential campaign. Workers erected barricades around a Manhattan courthouse. Meanwhile, Trump's Boeing 757 jet was seen parked on the tarmac in Florida's West Palm Beach. He was spotted at an event at his Mar-a-Lago resort. A US assault warship has docked in Manila for a 4-day goodwill visit to the Philippines. This visit comes months after the Philippine President, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., granted the US access to 4 military bases. The Philippines is locked in a territorial dispute with China and 5 other countries. A new report has said that the Metropolitan Police in London is institutionally racist, misogynistic and homophobic. The report gives details of disturbing cases of sexual assault, usually covered up or downplayed. 12% of the women in the Metropolitan Police say they had been harassed or attacked at work. The report also found that frontline officers were demoralized and felt let down by their leaders. A new report by the United Nations has urged countries to take urgent action on climate change. The report says that humanity is to blame for the crisis. Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned the world of a climate time bomb. He said developed nations should take the lead and commit to net zero emissions by 2040. The East African nation of Somalia continues to face drought. As many as 43,000 people died last year. Half of them were children under the age of 5. Somalia has witnessed 5 consecutive failed rainy seasons. The country has a population of 17 million. Half of the people are in urgent need of aid. The rate of fatalities are expected to rise in the first half of this year. A boat designed to collect plastic waste from oceans has started operations in Indonesia's Bali. This marks the beginning of a mission to combat marine plastic pollution. The Mobula 8 is capable of clearing solid debris, micro waste and oil spills. Plastic pollution is particularly acute in Indonesia. Bali is a tourist hotspot. Its iconic beaches get littered with trash. The European Union executive has pledged over $1 billion to help reconstruct Turkey after earthquakes. The Commission will also provide humanitarian assistance in Syria. Remember, the EU does not have diplomatic ties with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. More than 50,000 people were killed in the earthquakes in Turkey. Investors are taking some heart from the rescue of troubled lender Credit Suisse by its Swiss rival UBS. Attention is now on this week's meeting of the US Federal Reserve. Traders have been wondering if the bank's relentless rate hikes are responsible for sparking the bank crisis. They have now increased their bets that the Fed will pause its hiking cycle. In the US, hardline Republican Party lawmakers oppose any universal federal guarantee on bank deposits above the current $250,000 limit. This is a major roadblock to a key tool that could be deployed if bank runs re-emerge as financial confidence wobbles. The move comes after bankers and banking trade groups asked for universal guarantees from the Federal Deposit Insurance Group. Footlocker is planning to shut 400 stores by 2026. The move comes as the company is trying to make itself more relevant to young customers. The company is set to relaunch its retail brands. It's also introducing experimental new store concepts and simplifying its operations by closing underperforming mall-based stores. Facebook content moderators in Kenya are suing the social media site's parent company Meta. According to reports, moderators are suing the tech giant for unlawful redundancy. The 43 applicants say they lost their jobs with Sama, a Kenya-based firm contracted to moderate Facebook content. The applicants were fired for organizing a union, which the company prohibits. The infamously volatile cryptocurrency is suddenly looking healthy and hearty. Bitcoin has risen 21% this month, while a choppy S&P 500 has lost 1.4%. A sell-off in banks has wiped out hundreds of billions of dollars in market value. This has led to US regulators launching emergency measures. Investors are yet again placing their bets on cryptocurrency after the banking crisis. China is facilitating easier access to subsidies for its chip manufacturers. It's also extending more control over state-backed research for a handful of its chip companies. The move comes as part of the $1 trillion package announced for chip makers by China in December 2022. The chosen firms will have access to additional government funding. Additionally, they will also not have to achieve previously necessary performance goals. TikTok has said that the short video sharing app now has 150 million monthly active users in the US. The app had around 100 million daily users back in 2020. The figures have been confirmed ahead of TikTok CEO Xu Chu's testimony set for Thursday. Xi will be testifying before the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Google has suspended several apps made by China's Pinduoduo, citing malware issues. In the past weeks, several Chinese researchers have accused the company of making apps for Android containing malware designed to monitor users. This comes amidst efforts by the US government to bolster its cybersecurity. Google uses its Android security mechanism, Google Play Protect, to prevent the installation of malicious apps. Samsung has won a jury trial in the S10 trademark lawsuit. It convinced a Los Angeles federal jury that its Galaxy S10 phones do not violate the trademark rights of a talent management agency that also uses the S10 name. The lawsuit says S10 had received social media messages from people trying to buy Samsung's phones. The jury found that the S10 Entertainment and Media LLC had not shown that Samsung's popular smartphones were likely to cause consumer confusion. Users of Facebook's leaked artificial intelligence are using it to generate text for their Tinder profiles. According to reports, users of the Australia ODI series will be held in Chennai tomorrow. India had registered a 5-wicket win against Australia in the series opener at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai on Friday. However, the visitors bounced back in the second ODI at the Dr. Y.S. Rajasekhara Reddy Stadium to level the series. Two current South African players have been picked up in the inaugural Major League Cricket draft. Wicketkeeper batsman Quinton de Kock will play for the Seattle Orcas in the inaugural edition of America's T20 franchise tournament. Meanwhile, the Washington Freedoms have signed fast bowler Anric Noche. The 6-team league will be played in the single round-robin format from the 13th to the 30th of July. Bangladeshi batsman Mushfiqur Rahim has surpassed Shakib Al Hasan to score the fastest century for Bangladesh. Rahim scored the feat in just 60 balls. His knock included 14 fours and 2 sixes at a strike rate of 166.66. He reached the landmark off the final ball of Bangladesh's innings in the second ODI in Sylhet. Shakib Al Hasan had smashed a ton in 63 balls against Zimbabwe in 2009. New Portugal coach Roberto Martinez has directed his first training session with Cristiano Ronaldo and the rest of the squad. The new coach is relying on Ronaldo's experience for the upcoming Euro 2024 qualifier. Portugal hosts Liechtenstein on Thursday and will visit Luxembourg on March 26th in their first 2 Group J matches. Bayern took to the pitch ahead of their Women's Champions League quarter-final first leg matchup against Arsenal. The two will meet at the Allianz Arena later tonight. Arsenal topped Group C with 4 wins, a draw and a loss. The Gunners finished with 13 points, 2 ahead of French outfit Lyon. The return match in London is set for next Wednesday. Fulham's Alexander Mitrovic is facing a lengthy ban. This after the Football Association announced the standard punishment for his dismissal against Manchester United would be clearly insufficient. Mitrovic gave Fulham the lead in Sunday's FA Cup quarter-final at Old Trafford, but he was sent off after pushing referee Chris Kavanagh during a chaotic couple of minutes. The Brazilian national team's football team took to the training pitch ahead of their friendly against Morocco on Saturday. The players have been in Tangier since Monday, where they will have 5 days to train. Brazil's interim coach, Ramon Menezes, led the first training session at the Ibn Battuta Stadium on Monday afternoon. Paris Saint-Germain star Neymar will miss the friendly due to a right ankle injury. Tennis great Martina Navratilova said she is cancer-free. The announcement comes nearly 4 months after announcing she'd been diagnosed with throat and breast cancer. The Czech American has won a total of 59 Grand Slam titles across singles and doubles. She's considered one of the greatest players of all time. She was previously also diagnosed with breast cancer in 2010 and she recovered then. The former world number one, Rafael Nadal, has dropped out of the top 10 for the first time in 18 years. Nadal had been in the top 10 ever since April 2005. He's now fallen to the 13th spot in the rankings after injury forced him to miss the Indian Wells tournament. The 36-year-old's run came to an end on the same day that teenage compatriot Alcaraz reclaimed his number one spot from Novak Djokovic. Legendary Sky F1 pundit Martin Brundle has admitted that Mercedes could be looking to reduce Lewis Hamilton's income. Hamilton has yet to sign on the dotted line for the 2023 season. The development comes despite both parties confirming their commitment to each other. Mercedes has been struggling to keep up with Red Bull and Ferrari this year. Hamilton has been vocal about his frustrations with the team's decisions. Media mogul Rupert Murdoch is set to get married for the 5th time. The 92-year-old met 66-year-old Anne Leslie Smith in September last year at Murdoch's vineyard. He said, "I knew this would be my last." The couple is looking at a late summer wedding. Indian origin American actor Mindy Kaling is among those chosen for America's National Medal of Arts. US President Joe Biden will present the awards. The ceremony will take place on Tuesday evening at the East Room in the White House. Singer Bruce Springsteen and fashion designer Vera Wang are among the other recipients. Singer Ed Sheeran is ready to take fans on a candid journey into his life. Sheeran's docuseries, The Sum of It All, is underway at Disney+. The 4-part series will premiere on May 3rd. His new album, Subtract, will follow on May 5th. Actor Matt Damon unveils a new tattoo in honor of his late father. The actor got Nomad inked on his arm in memory of Kent Damon. Nomad is Damon spelled backwards. He shares that Nomad was also the name of Kent Damon's boat. Kent was 74 when he died of cancer in December 2017. Model Blac Chyna has warned her young fans against facial fillers. The 34-year-old is undergoing procedures to dissolve her fillers. She said the fillers are not worth it. Injectable fillers have been found to cause injury and infection. South Korean celebrity couple Seven and Lee Da-hae announced their wedding date. They shared the news on their Instagram pages. The two will get married on May 6th after 8 years of dating. The couple started dating in 2015 and confirmed their relationship in 2016. K-pop singer Jennie's music video Solo crosses 900 million views on YouTube. It's the first and fastest K-pop female solo music video to reach the milestone. Her debut music video was released in November 2018. It took her over 4 years and 4 months to reach this number. Jeremy Scott is stepping down as creative director of Moschino. Scott joined the Italian luxury fashion house in 2013. Scott was the 3rd designer to lead the brand. He presented his final show at Milan Fashion Week in February. Scott has dressed celebrities like Madonna, Cardi B and Katy Perry. Indian actor Rashmika Mandanna is Onitsuka Tiger's new brand ambassador. This makes her the Japanese fashion brand's first Indian brand ambassador. The actor says she is excited to see how their synergies merge and unfold. Singer Shawn Mendes and fashion label Tommy Hilfiger unveiled their new collection. The 90s-inspired collection is called Classics Reborn. The 28-piece collection is made with recycled textiles. The collection launched in London and was attended by many celebrities. Pamela Anderson, Tommy Hilfiger also attended the launch.